Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Boozer. I'm with CUGC HQ, and I am happy to welcome you to today's Connect webinar with Liquidware. We're going to be talking about FlexApp for Citrix Virtual Apps, which a lot of you know as XenApp. I know a lot of people are still using those names, and it's totally fine. Moderating for us today is Arnaud Payne. Arnaud is one of our Tampa CUGC leaders. He is a senior solutions architect, and he's also a recent addition to the 2019 class of CTPs. So Arnaud, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone.
Arnaud's going to keep an eye on the question panel for us today. So as we're going through the presentation, we'd love to have you type your questions into the question box. He'll keep an eye on those, and he'll ask some of them during the presentation and some of them after. We'll just see where they fit in and where they make sense. So don't be shy, please type in your questions. All right, so today we have with us Jason Smith, he's the VP of Marketing, and Jeff Pitsch, who's the Senior Solutions Architect, both of whom are with Liquidware. And Jason's done several of these webinars with us before, but I think this is the first time we have Jeff on with us today. So welcome, Jason and Jeff. I am going to hand things over to you to get us going, and I think I'll be sending the screen over to you, Jeff. Here it comes.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. Jason Smith here with Liquidware. Thanks. We're so proud to be a sponsor of the CUGC. We were one of the, I believe, 8 inaugural sponsors when CUGC made a new push a couple years ago. And it's such a valuable organization. We have been around to the regional events and would love to see you in person at any of the regional events or at Citrix Synergy coming up. We'll be in booth 104, 401, right by the door. Little dyslexia.
VP of Marketing, everybody. Let's get
right by the door. Will be hard to miss as soon as you walk in. There's 2 front doors at this show, and we'll be there near the hang space. And so give us a visit, and you'll see some of the things that you're seeing today in person from us. And Jeff will be presenting the bulk of today's presentation, and so glad to have the technical mindset of Jeff Pitsch with us. He has been with, most recently, before joining Liquidware, Citrix themselves. He came in through the acquisition of Unidesk, and then was working on Citrix App Layering, and then he joined Liquidware a short time after. And I think you'll see some of the differences here today in product sets, what you might have access to versus what we as a Citrix Ready partner can add to your environment through the layering solution that we offer, FlexApp. So, next slide. We're going to get directly into the heart of things. I'd like to talk just a little bit about Liquidware and our adaptive workspace management. You know what's surprising is that we have been around for 10 years, 10 years this month. So if you think about a private company in this space, that is a very long time. And so we've been a proud Citrix Ready partner in that time. But where you'll find that we are different is that we're also partners with the other ecosystems out there. So we work across any way you deliver a Windows desktop, so adaptive workspace management. If you are a Citrix customer, you can use us to onboard Citrix users into that environment from any other platform. That could be a virtual, physical, or cloud platform of any type of Windows. As long as the users on a Windows desktop will have full user environment management that will come across with that user, seamlessly flow in and out, even across operating system version. So if you're doing a migration from Windows 7 to 10 and you don't want to interrupt the user, we have a great way of doing that with full user environment management. And it provides context-aware settings, and it provides other things like registry management at an HKLM level, very secure application restrictions, and a lot of things that you would expect from a full user environment management product that can work with or without your existing profile tool, even UPM, even FSLogix. We can add a lot of value there by going across OS and giving you full user environment management and the backup of a profile and restoring it if it becomes corrupt with your current profile solution. We can do that seamlessly with that. So FlexApp's where we'll spend the bulk of the time today in today's presentation and how that fits into a Citrix Virtual Apps XenApp environment with our FlexApp application layering. And where we really focus with FlexApp is that we layer applications, and we focus on application layering. And that's a theme you'll see throughout today. And you'll see the benefits that we offer a Citrix environment or any other Windows environment, but especially you'll see a demonstration in a virtual apps environment today. And rounding out our workspace management suite is Stratosphere User Experience. It's a monitoring and diagnostic solution that can be used to baseline your older environment as you're onboarding users to the new environment, in this case Citrix, to show the differences and prove out which desktop is a better desktop, basically giving you decision support for the best desktop for your users going forward, and also giving you very in-depth and rich diagnostics, having the ability to drill down to a application IOPS level or a PID process level, and letting you see what is impeding user experience in your environment, so you can right size that and grow and scale, in this case, your Citrix deployments. So that's it for Liquidware. These solutions are available a la carte, and they're also available as a suite known as Liquidware Essentials. Very easy to demonstrate or evaluate these. You can download them even on our website, and there's a key included that'll get you going for the first 15 days, and you can try it all yourself. All right, so I'm going to turn things over to Jeff and let Jeff Pitsch talk about how we fit in these XenApp and virtual apps environment with FlexApp.
All right, sounds good. Arnaud, if you can do the first of the poll questions. So
Yeah, sure.
while this is going on, we've got a couple of poll questions in the beginning, just to kind of get an idea of the audience, your experience with various layering products, things like that, just to know if you've tried others or not. Just a little bit of a rundown on myself. Like Jason said, came from Unidesk, went to Citrix, at Liquidware. What I like to say is I've come from the school of Ron Oglesby, if you are familiar with him, in that, yes, I worked at Unidesk, and I have, layering has been part of my life for the last 8 years or so. But I'm not going to BS any of it. Anything that I talk about, good or bad, is easily verifiable, and I would invite anybody, if you don't believe something I've said about our product, about the app layering product, please test it out. Let me know what you find. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But everything that I try to talk about when doing, if I'm doing a comparison, whether it's layering or some other product, against each other, I'm going to give you what I feel is the accurate information. One of the reasons I do that is simply because I don't want anybody buying a product that I'm selling because of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I want you to buy the product because you like it and it works. You will, from a loyalty perspective, I guess it's easier. It's better for you and it's better for us in that someone won't, typically if we sell you on FUD, someone else can come behind and do the same exact thing to us, so we try to make sure that, the products do what we say they do. And, and that's true of Liquidware as well as it was true of Unidesk at the time as well.
So this is the first result, the result for the first question, and I will launch the second one.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So one thing I do want to correct, Jason, is that the demo I will be showing today, everything I talk about will apply towards XenApp, XenDesktop, but the actual demo when I deliver an application is going to be to a desktop OS, but it's all the same. It really is. Obviously, the one big difference being that RDSH is multi-user, and we have the same capabilities as app layering in that if you don't have permissions to an application, you won't see it. That session isolation. So you can deliver multiple apps to different users, and the users that you said should have access will see it. The other users will not see it, and vice versa. So you can mix and match users, you can mix and match those applications, and you can kind of really cut down on the amount of images that you're managing within your Citrix environment.
So this is the result for the second one. And I have an interesting question from Miguel. So, I mean, the question is, I understand the name is similar, but was wondering if Liquidware was the creator of the Flex Profile Kit.
Flex Profile Kit,
No.
No,
I can take that one. Flex Profiles was a solution of a company called Immediio. It was actually shareware for quite a while.
Well, actually, it started off with Login Consultants.
Yeah, shareware
And
before
it
that.
spun off to Immediio, yeah.
Yep, and then now that is a profile tool owned by VMware.
Yeah, it used the old Office deploy executable stuff to inject registry entries and all that wonderful stuff. That thing was great in its time, man, that's for sure. Saved my skin a few times on implementations in profiles. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that I kind of want to talk about here is a summary of, this is kind of a summary of Profile Unity with FlexApp and some of the things that they both deliver. The wonderful thing about Profile Unity with FlexApp is essentially they are tied together, so they can take advantage of each other. That means a single agent is installed on a workstation or the server, so you don't have to pick and choose which one you want to do. If you don't want somebody to get FlexApps, they just won't simply get them. If you don't want somebody to have, you just want to deliver FlexApps to a certain category of users, you can do that as well. You don't have to use the pro use side of it. In the end, it's all tied together, and this comes with some very major advantages, especially with FlexApp, in that FlexApp takes advantage of the filtering rules that ProU has, which basically means you have a very powerful mechanism for deciding who gets what application and even when. So if you want only users that are coming in internally to get a certain app, they can. If you want to make sure that a user only gets an app when they come in externally, you can do that too. So there's just a lot of power to make these filters as simple or as complex as you need, as you require. We're basically giving you the power to make those decisions, how, when, and where those applications are being pushed out. Provisioning, Citrix Provisioning Server. This is an interesting one. For those of you that use PVS, I still call it PVS. If you've tried Citrix App Layering, you tried Unidesk, you do know that there is a side effect of enabling elastic layering. Citrix has a support article on this. Basically what's happening, and I just wrote up a blog about this as well. And the crux of the problem is that the Unidesk filter driver handles or redirects every single write request to a separate partition. It doesn't let PVS handle the PVS side of things. It does. The Unidesk filter driver handles everything, not just the elastic layers. So what happens is that your write cache fills up very quickly. And right now, the only option is to expand the write cache for all of your desktops or all of your servers, or both, taking up much more storage space than what was originally intended. So while we are compatible with PVS in that we don't have that same issue, we redirect the right calls. So if a FlexApp needs to modify a file, we redirect that properly. If PVS is making writes, we just simply point the right call over to the PVS driver, and it does its streaming thing down to the right cache. So we don't have that same issue with that. In fact, we have quite a few customers that use Citrix App Layering, the image management piece, and which is really what it's built for, is image management. Elastic Layer is sort of a nice add-on, but in the end, it is an image management tool. And so they use Citrix App Layering for the image management, and they use FlexApp for the dynamic delivery of their applications. Package once, cross OS, very important. So one of the things that we are asked is that, hey, are you managing images? What are you doing there? We don't manage images. We manage applications. This gives us very, very good flexibility to deliver apps cross OS. This is not application isolation though. This is not, can I run an app that only runs on Windows 7 on Windows 10? I like to say we don't break the laws of Windows. Those restrictions still apply. We're not going to force a 16-bit app to work on a 64-bit operating system. None of that stuff. It's not application isolation. FlexApps layering is essentially the applications look and behave as if there is or as if the applications are installed locally. So they have full access to the OS, other applications, the network, everything. So fast packaging. I know layering has taken a hit on this, and I always like to point out that basically our packaging, when you package a FlexApp, and I will demonstrate this, we think of it as packaging with SCCM, LandDesk, whatever tool you use to package and deliver applications, that's the paradigm we use. You have a packaging machine that is snapshotted, and you start the capture, you install your app, you stop the capture, you finalize it, you're good to go. And then you can assign it and deliver it. So it's the same type of thing. You revert back your snapshot, you're good to package the next application. So you can read the rest of this stuff, but it's pretty simple. So what does FlexApp deliver that other layering technologies do not? It ends up being quite a bit. And I think packaging is an extremely important piece of what we do that kind of shows the difference of why FlexApp, architecturally, just kind of the whole way around is not built the same as other techs in this area. As the first one says, you can package an app at 35,000 feet. If you've got the installer, just pop up your laptop, open up VMware Workstation or whatever you're using, package it, and get it ready. And then when you land, you can take that application and import it into your own systems. If you're a consultant or you're managing multiple companies, you can take that same package and deliver it to any of those companies. Once you just make sure it works in their environment, but there's nothing in the packages that makes them dependent on what they were packaged on from an OS, from an environment perspective, I should say, environment perspective. In fact, we do this quite a bit to help companies with POCs. If there is an application that they want packaged, maybe they don't have time, our SCs will grab it, install it or capture it, and then send it their way. They simply import it and they have an app that they can run. Cross OS, mention this again, if the application works across multiple OSs, multiple images, we will continue to do that as well. Currently, we can assign FlexApps as true computer boot, not right when the computer starts to boot, but when it gets to a point it can access the network, it will attach that layer so that it is ready for users when they log in. We can do user login, and again, with the filtering, in fact, any of this, whether it's boot, whether it's user login or click to layer, can take advantage of filtering. So you decide who and when get those applications, but very powerful filtering. And then we have click to layer. Basically what this is really for those applications that maybe a user doesn't use all that much, but it needs to be at the ready. So instead of attaching it when a user logs in or maybe at boot, we put an icon on their desktop. They double click that icon, the application mounts at that point, and then they can use it from there. The other thing that click to layer does is it allows us to publish an application in Virtual Apps, XenApp, whatever you want to call it. We have an executable and then a command line argument that points to an XML file for the FlexApp, and you publish that out. And when the user goes to get it, it attaches if it's not already, and it runs. We can deliver print drivers. We can also deliver printers in FlexApp. I can't say this is going to be 100% of every printer that is out there, but we have a pretty good success rate with delivering not only the drivers, but the printers as well. Editing packages. So we have a File Explorer regedit type view of a package. I will show this. You can easily see what was captured. You can easily modify what was captured, delete it, add to it, change a value. Very, very simple. You can see everything that was there. Clone a FlexApp, copy a FlexApp to another. So you can, if you have to fork it, this is one of the requests I had all the time with, when I was at Unidesk, being able to take an app that I've got ready, but I need to make a modification to it. Or, I need to deliver to a different set of users that have a different set of requirements, but I want to use this as my base. You can do that by simply cloning it. And new with 6.8, and it will touch on this a little bit more in a little bit, but if you're familiar with AppV and other apps can do block level caching of applications on the endpoint. FlexApp can now do that as well. What does this add to FlexApp? Well, from an application standpoint, the user is running everything locally. They do not have an open connection to the VHD. FlexApps are VHDs in the end. They don't have an open connection constantly. So if the network goes down, blips out, whatever the case may be, there's resilience there. Basically, as long as there is not a call made to a block that is not on the endpoint, the user may never know the network went down, and they will continue to work and they will be happy. We can also do failover. We can do failover from SMB share to SMB share. You got two data centers. And now the great thing about this failover is it does it automatically. No user or administrative intervention is required. So if share A goes down, the next time the user requests a block, the intelligence of the agent will know that A is down, and it will automatically flip over to share B and start grabbing blocks from that. The other thing that we can do is we can do SMB to SMB. We can do SMB to object-based storage of Azure, GCP, and AWS. No extra infrastructure required up in the cloud to take advantage of that. So if you want, to have it fail over, or maybe users you've got that have cloud access, but they may not have internal access, but you still want to deliver those apps to them. You can do that by simply pointing them to the object-based storage, and they will have their applications. So I talked about this a little bit, system boot, login, click to layer, coming mid-year, actually very soon, because we're approaching mid-year. Post login. This is sort of click to layer in that, but you make the decision that, you know, the user isn't going to use this application right away. Therefore, we can delay it being mounted a few seconds to let the other applications mount first. And then trigger. So time, noon hits, user has to have an application, trigger hits, that says noon, you get this app. They will then dynamically have the application on their desktop, in their session, whatever the case may be. One thing I would like to address is that, you know, it talked about like the post login, click to layer. People always have questions on speed. How long does it take to mount an application? This gets into some pretty deep architectural differences between FlexApp versus Unidesk and VMware's app volumes. FlexApp is not a layer stack. It was funny because when we were preparing for this, Stephanie had her slides up, and if you looked at the first slide where it said learn, it had the Unidesk app layering stack right up on there. So basically what happens is, you know, when you've got this layer stack, you can, you know, there's priorities. This app has priority over this app, has priority over this app, so on and so forth. So you can only mount one application at a time because you have to be able to overwrite based on priority. So layer one gets written down, you know, is mounted, layer two then mounts, so on and so forth. Big difference with FlexApp is that we don't do layer priority. We don't have to. The analogy we like to use are puzzle pieces. You've got your major center puzzle piece that is the image, the operating system. You simply snap into the operating system, the image, however you want to consider it. We snap into it. So we're not overwriting anything. We're not even overwriting other Flex apps. It is a flat architecture from that standpoint. There is a technology we use called micro isolation. So in two Flex apps, if they share the same file and location and name and all of that, micro isolation will simply redirect a call to that file back to the layer that was requesting it, back to the Flex app that was requesting it. That's how we take care of layer conflicts. So where was I going originally? Time. So we can take all of our Flex apps and mount them in parallel with each other. So it takes less time. But one thing I do want to address is, you know, because one of the things I hear a lot is, well, yeah, it's taking time to mount. You know, I mean, it's still taking time. You know, I don't want time. Well, if you want dynamic delivery, if you want to cut down on the amount of images that you are using in your environment, you know, you don't want to have to create a new image because accounting brought in an application for 5 users that are going to run it maybe 6 times a year. We're able to deliver these applications dynamically, however you want to deliver them. Yes, there is a resource hit up front, but anything you do in technology takes resources. I don't care what you're doing, you're taking resources. Yes, the login, they might not, you know, the login might be delayed by a second or 2 or 3, but isn't that better than having to manage another set of images for another set of applications, or having to update 10 different images because an application that is on each one of those images needs to be updated. Update it once in FlexApp, and then send out the update. User logs off, user logs in, they have the update ready to go. No rebooting computers unless it's a mount on boot. But basically, you know, you don't have to redo a whole image just to update an application. So click to layer, you know, this, like I said, you know, this is unique, definitely, to FlexApp. Being able to, you know, to assign an icon and double click on it, and then it mounts in the background. Again, yeah, it's going to take a few extra seconds to launch, but once they've launched it that first time, it's native speed from that point on, because it's already mounted. It doesn't have to go through that process again. And it's the same with kind of a XenApp as well, the same type of concept, right? First user logs in, they start an application, whether it's click to layer, whether it's attached when they log in, but every other user that uses, that application, they don't have the mount time because it's only mounted once for the system, and everyone that has access to it will be able to use it. So this is, yeah, our idea of, you know, why does it matter? Because you can use click to layer to publish FlexApp, so they are on demand, and you know, again, cutting down on your management on what you have to do to get those applications updated. Another unique thing too is that when a user, you know, when the application is done being used, it actually will, you know, dismount after a certain amount of time, so that if you do have an update, next time user logs in, it'll attach and kind of clean itself up. So 6.8. So 6.8 brought in some new functionality. One of them being able to run our FlexApps from the cloud. Like I said, object-based storage. Because the VHDs are stored on object-based storage, and Windows does not know how to mount object-based storage, we added block level caching, which can be used when which is a default. You have to use it when you're running apps from the cloud. It is an option for on-prem applications, and it's a per FlexApp option. So some you can have caching, others you don't have to. AppStream, AWS AppStream integration. And the rest of this is, you know, it's, you know, login times. That's always a good thing, reducing login times, those types of things. You know, we iterate FlexApp a few times a year. Each time just gets better and better. There are a lot of features, and I could go on. I wrote up a blog like the top 10 features, 9 features that had always been requested, but we were never able to do. And FlexApp has them, and then some. So it's good to see. So this is the object-based storage. You know, just kind of an example here using S3. You have basically what you do is you have, you know, a storage account, and you have admin access, which allows you to write FlexApps up when you create them, and then you have the client, which basically says you only have read access. So the majority of your users, because they don't need to write to the FlexApp, they're read only, but you know, they don't need write access to those buckets either. So that, you know, like I said, you know, there's no SMB share. You can use it, not use it. The caching, you know, there's just a lot of advantages. You know, if you're taking advantage of the cloud, or you even want to dip your toes into the cloud, this is actually a really good place to start, because you don't require anything more than the storage. You don't need to put any infrastructure, no compute, no nothing up in anyone's cloud. It's you know, you're storing basically 3 files for each FlexApp, and the users simply read from there. So this is the cached mode, the block level caching. You know, if you're familiar with AppV, it's essentially the same thing. It's the same as PVS. it only brings down the blocks that it needs. And if a user makes a request for a block that isn't there, we go out and grab it. And like I've already talked about, because it's running locally on the endpoint, network goes down, latency goes high, whatever the case may be, it will, they may not notice. They may not notice. And with the failover on top of that, they may never notice that, part of the network is slow or part of the network went down, whatever the case may be. And one thing I didn't mention is that FlexApp can work with physical desktops. No one else does layering with physical desktops. So just keep that in mind as well. And again, this is all about the differences. While app layering, app volumes, FlexApp share the layering moniker, very, very, very different in how they are designed and implemented. So just because you try one and it doesn't work in that doesn't mean it won't work with FlexApp. We are extraordinarily different in the way that we look at the problem that layering is solving or trying to solve, and we've taken a completely different approach to it, and the approach really, really works. Another thing that we do is when now that we have this cloud-based storage of applications, we have packaged a bunch of applications, put them up into our cloud storage, and we give you access to them. This allows you to test out applications without the need to package them yourself. The other thing this allows you to do is, we've got FileZilla already packaged. Well, you could clone it from there, put it in your own on-prem SMB storage, modify it however you want, and then deliver it that way. You don't have to deliver from the cloud. You can clone these, modify them, work with them all you want. So saying all of that, we're going to jump into a demo. And Arnaud, while I get my side prepped, if you could post that third poll,
Sure.
that would be great. And I would invite anybody and everybody, if you go out to blog.liquidware.com and you click on my name, which will be on the right-hand side as one of the authors, you'll see my series of blogs about FlexApp and some Stratosphere and Profile Unity. But in this case, read through some of those. I go pretty deep into architectural differences, why those differences make the difference that they do. So, feel free to read through those to get a better understanding. And anytime, you need, you want to do some testing, feel free, email me, email sales@liquidware.com. We love to give licenses out, especially for testing to basically, prove it out. I will be more than happy to help out and do what I can. Our SEs will, more than happy to help out, show that, FlexApp does what we say it does. So this right here, this is a package machine, package 01. This machine is not joined to the domain. I haven't really optimized it much, but, for these purposes, that's really neither here nor there. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to package OpenOffice, and we have enough time for that. So I'm going to start our FlexApp packaging console. Now, the really cool thing is when this pops up, the first thing you're going to notice is that it is going to, my system's acting a little slow. So here we're pointing to our profile Unity server. What this is that's this bad boy right here. Basically, it holds the information on where the FlexApps are located and puts it in the database. That's all it's holding, is information where to find FlexApps. So when the user logs in, they are able to get those FlexApps delivered. Now, the other cool thing is if I change this to, I believe it's ./client-settings.xml or something like that, it does not have to communicate with the ProU server. It will log in basically locally without making that contact, and that is how you can package an application on your laptop, wherever you may be, network connection or not, doesn't matter. So you can do it that way and then hand out the folder with the 3 files and import it into your own system. So I'm just going to log in here. All right, so now you can see these with the little Liquidware icon. These are the apps that are delivered from our cloud bucket. You do have the option of hiding these if you so desire. You can also take these, and this is our clone a package. I could copy this down and, like I said, modify it, all that wonderful stuff. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start creating a package. So what am I going to call this? I am going to call this Open Office. This part, you don't need to worry about this part. This is kind of legacy, kind of not. You can use it if you'd like. Typically don't. I typically don't. VHD location, basically, where am I going to put the application when I am finished with it? And then size, and you can type in your own size of the VHD that's created. You can see here, it's either expandable or fixed. And we do have some other options under VHD. If you want to save to the cloud, it would give you the option to put in the cloud path. Local disk is for kind of a, for those apps that may not like being packaged into a VHD, you can try through local disk and then convert it. It's actually a very, very simple way of fooling some applications into being packaged. So now I'm going to create, and it's going to go through a little bit of a setup process here. And when it's done, it has a little start menu right there, or start menu. Start. All right, so now it's ready. The VHD is mounted. It is ready for us to start capturing. So now it has started recording. And just run through this install, which went behind, didn't it? No, that's, there we go. All right, so I'm just clicking next. Doesn't really matter. It's gonna capture it and do whatever needs to happen. And obviously you can make any modifications you want. If you want to put it in a different path, change some of these variables. If you want to run from a command line and you've got transform files or MSI command switches, you can use all of those as well.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you are packaging the application, one of the question was during the creation of the packaging process, an example, what about the add-ins for Office?
Yeah, so that's pretty easy. Basically what you want to do, so like this machine here, very clean. No outside applications outside of the Visual C++ runtimes. Basically, what I would normally have as a base runtimes on my desktop. So that, because basically you don't want to capture runtimes and those types of things because it just adds overhead and everything to the FlexApps. But for add-ons, like an Office add-on, what you would do is you would have a packaging machine. You'd have Office installed because the add-on will need to see Office to install, quote unquote, properly. And you want it as part of the packaging machine. You don't obviously want to install it while you're capturing like we are here. So basically, you bring this up, do the exact same thing, install your Office add-on. It will install with all of the proper hooks that it needs. You finish it, it will save itself up, and then you can deliver it to a desktop or XenApp server that has Office installed into it. So when it comes to whether it's an Office add-on or any type of add-on to another application, if you aren't going to combine the two into a package, the parent. Oh, I forgot about that. That's all right. No. Oh, here we go. You have to have the parent as part of the image so that the add-on will function correctly. All right, so this is all done. So now you can see here I got an option. I can reboot and pick up where I left off. It's open Office. I don't need to. Simply going to click finish, and it's going to go through basically saving and closing the VHD and saving basically an XML file and what we call a cap file out on the file share that I specified before this portion was launched. And it's telling you everything that's happening. And if there's errors, you'll see it here. Now, let's say you forgot something. Oh, I hit finish. I forgot to add in an add-on, let's say. I can hit extend, and basically it will take that same VHD that you just closed, reopen it back up, you do your modifications, you install your app, whatever the case may be, click finish again, and then you can come back here. And if you don't like it, you can delete it, or in this case, we're gonna hit save. So now we have this open Office. So now the next thing I love is I wanna show you everything that was captured within this VHD. So this is gonna bring up a file explorer type view. So you can see here, I can drill down through the operating system and see everything that was pushed out to it. If I see something I don't like that may have been caught that I didn't want to, I can come in here, I can rename, delete, copy, paste into it, whatever I need to do. I can modify all of this stuff as much as I need to. That's the file system. Here's some registry that was just added in. You've got access to all of it. And one of our SCs has actually created, because we don't have this in the interface, but it's just a script that you can say, hey, I need to know in a printout, basically, what's on that VHD, what was captured. We will then export this information. In this case, it was used for the security team to be able to look at what was in a package before they would approve it. So that's what that is here. And if I was to make any modifications, I would hit save. In this case, I'm just gonna hit cancel. And it's gonna unmount it, and there we go. So now what we have done is we've captured OpenOffice and registered it here in our Profile Unity console. And if I go into my inventory management, so you can see here, I've got all of these apps. These are the cloud apps here. And there's my OpenOffice app right there. And you can see here, I've got an import option. I've also got an import option here as well that I can import in a FlexApp that someone has given me or I've done on the side somewhere that I need to get into the environment. Now, we use the same console, the same filters, same everything. I just want to show filters real quick. I think I've got, so MCS machines. I'm running a bunch of MCS stuff. So this is pretty simple. If it's MCS, it's Windows 10. It's a laptop or desktop because that's the type that the virtual machine reports itself as. I could limit it to ICA sessions, RDP only, PC over IP. Blast will be added in here pretty quickly. But basically, if I want to come in here, these are all of the options we have that we can filter on. Pretty much anything and everything that you would want to filter on. And so if I put in here, I want this to be, a user group called test, I can hit add. So you can already see right here, computer name begins with MCS. That's what it's going to look for. So I can have exact, not exact. And I can keep adding multiple criteria to this filter so that it gets delivered properly. It's not just user group. It's not just machine. You have all the power in the world to send those applications where they need to be sent and to how. So here I can apply a filter or deliver the application to everybody. Just choose MCS. And then I can just search on OpenOffice. And you can see here, enable click to layer, enable cache blocks locally. I can do either or neither. I'm not going to do either right now. I'm just going to save that. And then I'm going to update our configuration and save this out where my configurations are saved, where the MCS machines are going to look for it. So now I am just going to log in here as a demo user. Try demo 02. And I'm trying to be cognizant of time. So MCS, virtual apps, my virtual apps aren't started. So we'll go to the MCS desktop. And I don't remember if I already had a profile captured for this user. We'll find out here in a second. But the one thing you'll see is obviously once we get fully logged in, OpenOffice will be there. And I probably should have shown you before and after OpenOffice not being there, OpenOffice now being there. But that's something, you can feel free, take a look through yourself. It's pretty powerful stuff in how all of this works. This splash screen, you can show it, not show it, entirely up to you. And I don't, for me, for demos, I show it. If I'm doing production work, I typically hide it because there is and this is something I actually learned when I was at AppSense, and we would have that splash screen pop up, is users will see something new and automatically decide that things are taking 5 times longer than they used to. You hide the splash screen, they never notice the difference. It's an interesting insight into people's psychology. So like I said, I don't know, this may run through, oh yeah, there we go. Windows 10 setup. Gotta love this. I can't wait for 1903 to start playing more with that. I just downloaded it the other day. Be able to do enterprise and not have a bunch of this stuff have to get set up and configured. So what's happening in the background right now is obviously Windows is doing its thing. I also have, I show you here, that's not it. Whoop, there. All right, if I go here, now we have these things called portability settings. This is part of Profile Unity. Basically, this is the module that makes your user profile version agnostic, not operating system agnostic, because with Windows 10, that doesn't apply anymore. Windows 10 has gone through, I think it's 3 profile version changes in its lifespan. Estimate about once a year, Microsoft will flip that bit to a new version. So I've got created a demo. Jason, has that video been posted of the going back and forth between Windows 7 and Windows 10? Jason? Jason, you're on
Sure,
mute.
I can track that down and we can put a link in there in a minute so they can also view that.
Yeah, because it's pretty cool stuff in that basically I can take a profile from Windows 7, log into a Windows 10 desktop. my settings, the appropriate settings will move over, application settings, which is what we're typically most concerned with. And then I can log into my Windows 7, say I have an application that can't move over yet. I can then log in and have my settings that are appropriate for Windows 7 still show up. Essentially, what you have now is a single profile, and I apologize for this taking so long. I should have logged in with this user beforehand. But basically, you can have a single profile that is completely agnostic to whatever version of Windows, whatever profile version. You could even have it go from, Windows Server 2019 to Windows 7. It doesn't really matter to us. And that's where those portability rules come in. You can see here, who the filter these are applying to, and what it's capturing, saving, restoring, how it's doing its thing, the whole 9 yards. Wow, this is slow. But it really wants to update me and keep me protected in an online world. Thank you, Microsoft.
By the way,
yeah.
doing this, can I ask you some question?
Absolutely, that's a good thing.
Okay, so it's not in the right order, but however, how does your product differ from FSLogix?
So, okay, FSLogix is the equivalent of what we call our profile disk. FSLogix redirects Office 360 OST, can redirect the profile so that it looks like it's a local profile instead of roaming. Basically, a lot of what FSLogix does is a very small subset of what Profile Unity can do. There are a couple of pieces that it does, FSLogix does, that we don't do yet. But be on the lookout. Middle of this year, I think we're going to hit parity or extraordinarily close to parity with what FSLogix had. And it's going to be quite powerful when you combine some of those features in with FlexApp in particular and Profile Unity. Now, saying that, like I said, there is overlap. But on the same token, let's take a look. We were just talking about portability. Portability makes your profile agnostic. FSLogix, our profile disk, those are version-specific profiles. What happens if it gets corrupted? You better have a backup of the VHD, or you simply start the user over. In a way, they start over with a fresh new profile.
Yep.
It's the same issue that we've had for 20 some odd years from that perspective.
Right. So we can also run with FSLogix if the customer has chosen to use FSLogix just to bring in a profile from a disk. The overlap in our product comes in the profile disk, but then we can extend the functionality of FSLogix. So our portability.
And that's where I was going with the portability, is that the portability allows you then, like right now, you can see that a lot of the stuff is applying and saving. I can set these portability rules so that when a user logs off, it saves the settings off to another file share. So now what happens is that we're not applying them at user login. Reason why is that if that disk becomes corrupt or you lose that profile in some way that was on the profile disk, FSLogix, what have you, you can flip the bit for that user so that it then does basically a one-time restore of their profile settings, and then they start using the FSLogix disk. So basically, a lot of our stuff is, well, I would say pretty much all of it is complementary to what FSLogix does, kind of embrace and extend. So it's we work extraordinarily well together. Obviously we from a WVD perspective, we are one of the go-to partners with Microsoft, specifically because we work so well with their technologies, including FS Logics.
Okay,
So
thanks.
ignore the licensing there. Here's OpenOffice. It is attached. You can see it was created by Profile Unity. So this is going to take a little bit because the desktop's not fully up, but this is kind of, also kind of what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of, resources being used by Profile Unity / FlexApp. And obviously this is brand new desktop, so it's doing a lot more than just a normal, hey, I've logged in 20 times before. So there's some extra hard resources, and I'm just wondering what this bad boy looks like. Yeah, you can see I'm taking up a lot of resources, fun stuff. There we go. But it's running. It looks native. Users are never going to know. If I look in the file system, it's all going to be there, just like you would expect it to. Registry, same exact thing. It's all a single C drive at this point. Any other questions that we can answer?
Yeah, I got other questions. So, answered. Let me check. So, can you elaborate more on package ons? The person was surprised to hear your product support multiple operating system version with one package. What about different Windows 10 builds?
So, Windows 10 builds typically, they obviously are very different. But typically an app designed for Windows 10 should continue to work. Now, just like any other packaging technology, this is not a FlexApp, this is not a Citrix app layering, this is not anything. If an app doesn't work on a version of Windows, there is nothing we can do to get that application to work on the version that it doesn't work with. Okay, we are not application isolation. Now, saying that, like I said, if an application works on Windows 7 and it works on Windows 10 or different versions of Windows 10, 1607, 1903, whatever the case may be, you can package once. And obviously, I'm going to say you got to test, always test. But in the end, it should work. There's, because it works in both. There's no reason it shouldn't work when delivered as a FlexApp.
Okay. Another question, is there a performance impact with, let's say, 40 mounted FlexApps?
How many FlexApps?
40.
40? So I've never tested 40, but let me put it this way. Is it going to be a normal login? No, it will take a little longer for the desktop to pull up all that wonderful stuff because you are asking it to mount 40 FlexApps, okay? Mm-hmm. But the difference being is that we are doing those in parallel. So if you do a comparison to the other products out there, we will be faster, okay? And there's other variables that go into how fast does something mount. But it's the same thing. You got to look at, one, that is a very important distinction, is that because we can mount in parallel, we are going to be faster. Now, I know there are some people that will say, well, the fact that it takes any extra time is just a non-starter. And I push back on that. I think I said this earlier, is that, do you enjoy managing 50 images with the difference between 5 of those images being one application each? That's the advantage we give. Everything we do, you put any agent on a Windows desktop, on a server, whatever the case may be, you're taking up more resources. You're affecting that desktop in some way. And so is mounting applications, but you get the advantage of management, ease of management, a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah, if I could add to that, So at login, and keep in mind, Jeff covered a slide that we have more ways to layer than any other vendor in the business. So at login, we do have a hit, and you start to see it over 10, 15 apps or layers, so VHDs that are being mounted and brought in. Somewhere around there, 15 to 20 apps is the breaking point where you probably want to look at the other ways that we layer. So how many apps does a user usually need as soon as they log in? It's usually they go straight to Office and they're checking email. So you can use one of the alternative methods. Coming mid-year will allow post login of a layer to come in. So silently in the background, and the app, another layer can come in. So you deem which apps might be most important to come in at login, and then you can bring them in at post login, or you can do the click to layer. So then it's just a stub icon on the desktop. And if it's an app the user rarely uses, then you could do a click to layer app, and then the app will actually be mounted if they ever click on it. If they don't click on it, it's never layered.
Okay,
And one
so
thing I would like that I'd like to add too is that FlexApp is never done being developed. And what I mean by that is that we are constantly adding new features, new ways of delivering FlexApps. We've shown 2 of them that we can talk about right now coming up mid-year. Believe me, there's more, and that delay of when a user the login hit, we are constantly updating the speed so that the hit is not as much. And there are some things that we are working on that will enable you to basically do away with the hit, but still deliver the applications to those people that require it, and only those people. So this is not a static product. This is constantly being innovated and pushed forward. And that, to me, is a huge difference between us and other vendors.
okay. Regarding the click to layer shortcuts, how long will it typically take users to receive and use the applications when they click on the shortcut?
Again, that's going to be dependent on the application, and not even the size of the application, because really that doesn't matter. The VHD could be 50 gig large, and it may only take 5 seconds for it to be ready for the end user. But typically we're talking a matter of seconds to get it mounted and have the user being able to then use the application. But there are variables that play into that. So you just be aware of that.
Okay. If you have time, I got other question.
Yeah, I've got all the time in the world.
What applications your product cannot package or suggest not to package?
I think the one that everybody wants to package, and while technically it can be packaged, it's really not a good idea to do it, is Office. We do have people doing it, but with that licensing, that license file that Microsoft uses that is now tied into the OS, it becomes a lot more difficult to do Office properly. So that's one. But anything, what I would say is anything with deep drivers into the operating system, could be antivirus, although we do have people layering antivirus at boot. But it's those types of things that I would recommend not doing. If it's got deep ties, like it needs to be there right when the machine boots up, probably not going to work, because the layer won't be there in time, even if it's an app boot. So those low level things are really difficult. Jason,
like antivirus, yeah. There's just a few like that. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, we do have customers that have successfully layered Epic and delivering it through FlexApp. So I mean, that so You know, it's great, I think.
Okay. Another question. When using trigger, is there also a choice in system boot login, control, or post login?
For a trigger? Not for
When
boot.
using trigger.
No, I mean, you wouldn't be able to trigger app attach at boot, because I'm not even, I guess I don't understand what would be accomplished.
Let me ask you the next question. I will save this one in the chat.
Okay.
It will be easier probably.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
I missed
so
that.
the other question I have,
Okay.
it's yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I missed what the question was.
Okay, so the other question, does your product support an exclusion list to prevent capturing files and registry keys?
You can edit those out. There is no exclusion list. Well, I mean, there is and there isn't. There's not one that's really modifiable. But saying that, because you can see exactly everything that was captured, you can easily edit the packages to remove anything that you don't want in there. That's actually a good suggestion. I like that one. I'm going to pass that along, you know, and see what they say.
So there are some methods for doing that through the packaging to open it back up and edit registry keys, but there's we call that reg editor.
Yeah,
there is a method to do that, and you have to look at the knowledge base. But there's a complementary Profile Unity solution in there that manages registry keys that can fix up a package. And now you'll see the beauty of why you can license the two together, our layering and our UEM, because our registry management in Profile Unity can go all the way to HKLM keys, and that's a higher level. You know, for a standard user, you'd be at an admin level, and we can effectively manage admin level keys even with our registry editor in there, where you can merge, exclude, or replace any registry key. And what you can assign the same context aware rule set that you've assigned to deploy a FlexApp to managing the registry keys in Profile Unity. So in other words, you could fix up an app, change default behavior, run once of a browser or something like that through a registry key management in Profile Unity.
I think a good example that I've been asked in the past, especially when I first started working at Liquidware, was, man, we've used Unidesk to you know, overwrite files. You know, just throw it in a layer. You know, I want these users to have this host file with these entries in it, and I got another group of users that needs a different host file. Well, to FlexApp specifically, the image is never touched. We don't overwrite anything. Like I said, we're flat structure. The image is the image, and it wins every time. But using Profile Unity, could easily copy in the host file, and those, you know, the different groups will have different host files. So that's the complementary need. And you know, sometimes it's hard for people to get around the mindset of, well, I can just do it here. You know, well, no, you don't have to do it that way anymore. You can just do it here and make it easier, because you don't have to modify a layer every time you need to update a host file or something. And looking at that question, when using a trigger, is there also a choice in system boot, login, CTL, or post login? So a trigger would be something like time.
Yeah, in a session, what you're in the session itself.
Yeah, it could be at application start or something. You know, like if I see Notepad start, that's a trigger to start, you know, to maybe load another FlexApp to go along with it or something like that. Basically, any one of our modules that is.
Yeah, if you loaded a FlexApp at boot, you would not use a trigger. It would already be in the session.
There.
It would already be in the session.
I think the question was, it was for the new context trigger.
For the new context trigger, let's think about a use case for something like that. So it could be a time of day. This could be a compliance reason for a bank or a financial institution or insurance. And you say a certain time of day is when this app should be available on the virtual desktop, 9 to 5 Eastern hours, if you knew that's when the worker was around, right? But if they log in outside of that, maybe they're logging into the virtual environment from home or something like that, the app simply would not be made available. And you wouldn't play it back to the desktop. So you could do a trigger based on time of day for that. You could also say when they open up QuickBooks, also layer in this PDF reader for any particular reason. You know, you have these scenarios in your real workers that may need an app when another app is present. So those are two just scenarios. Another one might be if you're in an education institution and the students log into the science lab, you want to play back the applications that are supposed to be only for the science lab. And you could do it that on a context aware basis. So you know when they logged in and you did it at login, or you could do it basically on a trigger point. So if another thing rings true, one app's open, another app can be added. So there's a few scenarios I can think of when you would want to use the context-aware filters.
And to be honest, the more I've thought about that, and you brought up a good point, the whole time of day thing, Jason, that I didn't initially think about. There is going to be an easier way to do that, so you don't have to do it. You wouldn't have to have a trigger at boot. Just throwing that out there, kind of a tease for upcoming feature.
Yep.
Any other questions that we've missed?
No, there are other questions, but I think probably we will send all the questions to you.
Yeah, we'd be glad to follow up with any questions that may have come through. If the name is attached to them, we can get back with them.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
And I did see, you know, do we support remote app? Absolutely. I mean, really, what is XenApp? It's remote app with Citrix pieces on top of it, or not remote app, RDSH with pieces on top. It's not, you know, so from that perspective, absolutely, we can deliver through remote app as well.
Yep.
All right, well, I want to thank everybody for sticking around, listening to me chat on for well over an hour now. I hope everybody learned something. And like we've said, if there is any information you want, you can always get a hold of me, whether it's email, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you want to get a hold of me. And yeah, we'll be at Synergy and we'll be everywhere. So I look forward to talking to people.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for attending today. I'll make sure that you get all of the links. There were several that were put in the chat for Liquidware and all the contact information for Jeff and Jason. I'll make sure you get all that in the follow-up email. That will also have a link to the recording of today's webinar. So you will also see in the chat, I threw a lot of links. I'll make sure you get those in email form as well. But if you're going to Synergy, we hope that you will register for the CUGC pregame. It's on Monday night, and it is a really fun, big party. It's a great way to start off the week, meet fellow CUGC members, some of our sponsors. There's lots of people there. It's always a great time. And also be sure to stop by our booth. We'll be in the community hub in Synergy Park. You'll be able to get, this is needs updating. You'll get your 2019 t-shirt, not your 2018 t-shirt. So we don't have to this. But yes, you can come by and get your t-shirt. We have all kinds of swag. We have stickers, lots of good stuff for you guys to pick up at Synergy. So please stop by and see us. And then finally, I know some of you may have opted in to possibly win this really cool classic Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I want to like play the Mario Brothers songs right now, but I don't have a soundbite for that. We will choose our winner at random off the air, and we will notify you, and we'll announce the winner on Twitter and at mycugc.org. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, and you'll see that. All right. Also, one last thing, make sure you follow us and find out about your local group. If you haven't been to your local CUGC event, those are great meetings. Sometimes Liquidware is there. There's good opportunity to learn from other CTAs, CTPs, other CUGC sponsors. So definitely check out our events calendar. I put a link in the chat for you to find your next local group event coming up here soon. All right, I will let everyone get back to their day. Thank you so much, Arnaud, for keeping an eye on those questions. I know there were questions that didn't get answered. I will make sure that those get to Jason and Jeff, and we'll get those taken care of. And thank you, Jason and Jeff, for sharing everything with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon at Synergy.
Thank
All right,
you.
see you guys. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye.